Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's presentation as part of the Industry Insight webinar series. The topic this time is document automation for real estate closings. Speaking today will be Chelsea Lambert from Smokeball. Chelsea Lambert is the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Smokeball, a provider of productivity software for small law firms based in Chicago. Her mission is to help attorneys and legal professionals understand the technology that is available to them, how to use it, and the positive impacts it can have on their business. As a former practice management advisor for the Chicago Bar Association, she is an expert in small law firm processes, marketing, technology, and law practice management education. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll now begin the webinar.
Hi everybody, and thank you so much for attending our session today. My name is Chelsea, and I am with a company called Smokeball. So we provide document automation and productivity software for small law firms. Today we'll be focusing specifically on how document automation can be applied and speed up the process of executing a real estate closing. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in to tell you a little bit more about myself. I have spent the last 10 years helping small law firms across the country find the right technology for their practice. So if you have any questions during the question and answer session comparing us to another tool or provider, chances are I've either seen or worked with it before. So please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll try to answer those as best I can. My contact information is up on the screen, so if you prefer to ask a question after today's session, you can feel free to email or contact me at the information above. So let's go ahead and jump in. Document automation for real estate closings, I'm going to break down into two parts. So there's document automation and then document assembly. And document assembly is very different from document automation. And you can kind of think of the two as a document assembly being a more high-priced, larger firms, volume filing firms tool that you invest a tremendous amount in, and also has an element of artificial intelligence, where it's actually writing some of the clauses into the document for you. Whereas document automation is a simple tool, a much simpler tool, which is much less costly, that is commonly used in consumer law practices and applied to work that is very repetitive or transactional in nature. So oftentimes you will follow the same process in a real estate closing. You'll use the same forms, the same documents, the same letters, usually following that same process over and over again. And so one of the reasons why we're talking about document assembly document automation today is that as consumer law practices, we have been faced, especially over the last few years, with a much more competitive market where clients are potentially Googling how much they feel they should pay for a service, or trying to self-execute some portions of the legal process through using sites like LegalZoom, and in general they're just self-educated in a way because so much more information is available to them on the web, which in turn forces attorneys that own, run, or work in a consumer law practice to be more efficient and to be more accurate in their work, because they cannot afford to lose time, because they cannot charge any greater of a fee than they already are today. So what document automation also does in this environment, it allows you to standardize your intake process, auto-populate court forms and title closing statements, including calculations like tax prorations, escrow amounts, and so on. Automate repeated use documents, maybe engagement letters, fee agreements. Automate letters such as simple correspondence between you and your client. And then again, process and calculate those difficult documents like title closing statements, or the closing documents associated with the purchase or sale of a home. So we're going to focus on the difference between document assembly and automation, the benefits that automation can have for your practice, example documents showing you what you can automate, some of the available tools that are out there for you, and then we will do a quick demonstration of Smokeball so that you can see document automation in action. And one thing that I'll preface with today's session, while Smokewell is a provider of document automation, it's important for you to really evaluate what you need and what will work in your firm. And there are other providers that do document automation, so it's good to just kind of browse around and see what might be a good fit for your firm before jumping in and purchasing, because these solutions do take some time to set up, and that is going to impact how quickly you can get up and running and actually executing your closing. So what is document assembly? And we'll just do a quick review. So document assembly is stitch by stitch piecing together a document, almost like building a quilt out of different portions of that document, which is why as you're building a document with document assembly, it will ask you a myriad of different questions and use artificial intelligence and asks or questions to populate a long, complex document. So it's typically used by larger firms, typically to handle custom work product, very, very complex documents, even some M&A or other very, very unique clauses that could be used in that document for different circumstances or situations. It is also much, much more costly than document automation. It requires hardware. You have to buy servers. Sometimes you have to buy other type of equipment. Then you have to back all of those servers up in a second location. It requires IT staff to put all of those pieces together. And both of those two things combined cost a tremendous amount of money. So document assembly solutions that you might have heard of, seen, or used that range from 10 to hundreds of thousands of dollars are HotDocs, Exari, ActiveDocs, Contract Express. Those are a few of the bigger names in the document assembly space, and some that you may have used if you have been at a larger firm previously. So document assembly versus document automation. Automation is for everyday documents, very commonly used in consumer law practices, especially areas of law such as real estate, estate planning, family law, criminal defense, business, small business law, where you were filling out a lot of forms or reusing the same documents over and over again. And assembly is for those complex or massive documents that require switching out language clauses or making intelligent decisions to complete that document. So document automation is the concept of entering data one time into one database and then using that data to populate as many documents as you'd like for as long as you have that information. And so the process of document automation can be fulfilled in 3 different ways. One, if you've ever used the mailings or mail merge features in Microsoft Word, or if you came from WordPerfect macros, this might be something familiar to you. That is simple document automation, where I have a letter in Microsoft Word, and I have an Excel sheet filled with all of my clients' information. And I can insert fields that match that Excel sheet into Microsoft Word, and then merge the two together. So anytime that you're doing a list of labels or pre-filling a letter template, that is the most basic form of document automation. Now, the second, more advanced stage of document automation is data entered into a database, such as a CRM or other practice management or case management tool, and then it populates documents, perhaps as PDFs, perhaps in another form. And that data really just stays in that database, and you have to work with it within that one program. Now, the ideal situation is a combination of Microsoft Word and that dynamic database, which means that you can use a case management system or a client management system. But when you populate those documents, letters, forms, they are populated in Microsoft Word, so that you still have the ability to add a couple of extra lines of text or completely change the format of the document if you wanted to. And because of the powerful combination of the two, it gives you the ability to keep one true record of all of your client information in your case management or client management system but then have the flexibility to quickly populate documents and still be able to change them when you need to. And this is an example of how you would enter or create a client's information in that case management or contact management system one time, and then select the different documents from the library that you need to have populated with this information. Now, this also creates efficiency, but more importantly, it reduces the risk of errors. Because if you know that at this top level, all of your client's information is accurate, true, correct, and up to date, then you can be assured that each of these documents below are going to be completed accurately. And many of the users that have implemented document automation come back and say that while the efficiency and streamlining their practice and larger profit margins are all wonderful benefits that document automation has, one of the true most valuable pieces is that peace of mind that they get. It's kind of that 1 a.m. question, did the document that I filed, was it completely accurate? Was there an error? And that so often happens because we are inclined to go back and just reuse the last letter that we wrote for our last client, or pull up that court form that we used for the last client. And all it takes is a misstep when typing to switch around a letter, or a incorrect date, or search and replace, maybe didn't find and replace everything because there was a capitalization or a misspelling of the name. And there's nothing worse than having two different clients' names on the same document. And not to mention the impact that it has on your time when those documents are completed incorrectly. So the benefits are efficiency and productivity and profit. So in order for a small law firm to continue to be profitable, to continue to grow without having to increase the rates that you charge, document automation is one of the most viable and quickly implemented solutions that can get you there. So without changing anything else in your practice, if you were to just start automating forms, that would streamline your workflow, increase the level of accuracy that you have, and overall reduce the stress of running a small law firm. So the overall benefits of document automation is obviously the time saving, reducing errors, preserving document integrity. So if you have a team, making sure that absolutely everyone on this team is using the same version of that document every single time, and ensuring that your forms are up to date across the board. So do we have the most recent court forms? Do we have the most recent municipality forms available to us? Because they're all in one central library that's accessed by everyone on your team. And then the other question is that I would ask providers is whether or not they come with a library. So some do, and some require you to set your library up yourself. So if you are evaluating document automation, just a couple of things to ask. So what type of documents can I automate? File cover sheets, checklists, intake forms, anything that you are going to print on your letterhead. And this is especially useful if you are printing on your actual letterhead. So maybe you are writing in Word, but then you print on your letterhead. You can have document automation templates that will print automatically on your letterhead, and you don't have to go and load special paper into the tray and hope nobody else is printing right now, and then maybe they print over your letterhead, and that's costly too because it's expensive to have that printed. So just a couple of the fallout reasons why, again, using letters, especially those that you send over and over again or repetitive across your client base, can be converted into templates. You can also use emails as templates. So if you find yourself sending the same appointment confirmation email or the same email for the actual closing itself with maybe a to-do list of what you need to bring or what you need to do, that can also be automated and dropped into the body of an email, which we'll give you an example of a little bit later on. So a few more document examples: engagement agreement, file cover sheet, the inspection letter, authority to request payoff, a warranty deed, pesky IRS forms. Everybody loves doing those, and hopefully we have no errors on those especially. Also, letters to clients pre and post-closing. Even something as simple as asking for a referral in an email after you've had a really great experience with a client is something that can be automated. So just taking a look at this list of documents one last time, how many times are we going to enter the same client and matter information into these documents on average? 42 times. So that's 42 times that we could potentially have an error, or 42 times that a paralegal has to re-enter that same information across a variety of documents over and over again. And I pose a question to everybody on this call right now, is what could your paralegal support staff or secretary be doing if they didn't have to enter that information in 42 times? Could they be calling clients and proactively following up on something they need? Could they be doing other work that will help your business grow? Could they be doing business development or marketing activities that will help your business grow? Or maybe following up on collection calls so that you have better and more consistent cash flow. So just something to think about is not necessarily how do we remove work, but what could be done in place of that repetitive work. So your investment is in simplicity. And this is an example of our Smokeball digital file. Now the difference between something that you'll see in Smokeball and what you should consider when you are looking at document automation solutions is the level of detail collected. So in this particular screen, we can see that we're collecting granular information about the property, about the closing, realtors, title company, attorney on the other side. And we also have our standard information such as the matter name, who the buyer or our client is. And then underneath we have a collection of the documents that we have produced. Now when collecting this information, the benefit of going to this very granular level of detail is that you're collecting everything that you need to populate a simple letter all the way up to a title closing statement. So as you find out more and more information and these things are determined across the course of the case, you can start adding percentage of price, who it's going to be held by, is it going to sit in escrow, what the initial amount will be. You can also auto-calculate all of your acceptance, inspection, clear to close, and title commitment dates, as well as the buyer's contingency and additional closing details or location. So closing details and location is an example of some information that could easily be pulled into an email. And when looking at all of these fields, no matter what provider you are working with, these fields should tie directly into a place in the documents or forms where they need to go. And because each of these is a field, that also allows you to build templates of your own where maybe you want to pull in certain information. Maybe you have a really great email or status letter that you send to your client that other attorneys don't do. Well, this data is all available to you. So all you have to do is write that letter or document, and then you can insert any of these fields that you see. So your database should be flexible enough that it doesn't just collect name, address, phone, and other information, that it collects granular details that are going to directly relate to a title closing statement, a court form, a letter, email, so on. So what are the business impacts of using document automation in a real estate practice? Going back to that question of what could your staff be doing if they didn't have to enter information into the same 10 documents 42 times. Improving your level of client service, making proactive calls, doing reminder or appointment confirmations, chasing down collections, invoices that are outstanding, improving your cash flow by running payments on time. Quality control, so reducing errors across the board. That can I sleep at night factor. And then overall, higher profit margins. A couple of other business impacts that are not included on this screen are the ability to bring on an employee and train them in the exact same way that you have trained other employees. So the ability to bring on an employee and say, every single time we do a real estate closing, we follow this process. You use this template. We fill out these court forms. our title closing statement is done just like this. And when you follow a standardized process, it creates a smooth transition from one department to the other, or from an attorney to an associate, or to a paralegal to a secretary. Everyone knows that we're working on the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps, or however much that might be. And that also sets you up for a successful transition in the event that you ever want to sell, merge, or transition your practice to another partner. So we oftentimes will ask our clients when we first start working with them, is your business healthy? How do you know what is going on with your business? Can you pull a report of real estate closings? What are the things that you don't have today that you feel that you need as a business owner, as a partner, as a managing partner? What are the things that keep you up at night, and what would you be worried about if that I got hit by a bus situation happened? Could you successfully transition your practice to another partner? And when you have a solution like document automation in place, or especially if it's tied to a case management system, it sets you up to be able to say every single real estate closing that we run is run exactly the same way. Every single case that we take on follows the same process, the same checklist. And walking into a firm or merging with a firm where they have a set series of processes is a very, very attractive thing to partners. It is not a massive Excel sheets and documents that we have to pull together and weave through, or if you're in a position where now you need to transition and sell your practice, all of this information is in the same place, and employees are trained so that they can easily be managed by someone else or merged with another organization. So with that, we are going to get into our document assembly demonstration. And a few of the other providers that you can check out include tools such as Docsera, also known as the form tool, HotDocs, and you'll want to look at the online version of HotDocs. MyCase, Clio, and RocketMatter do have document automation features where you can build your own templates and tie them to information in their system. You can check those out as well. And then if you are familiar with tools such as Abacus or Amicus and Tabs 3. So that would really be, in general, kind of the landscape that you're looking at from a small firm perspective. So MyCase, Clio, RocketMatter, Docsera, the form tool, which those two are actually the same company, and then larger solutions such as Amicus, Abacus, or Tabs 3, all of which have the ability to do, and HotDocs, all of which have the ability to do what we are going to show you today. The question just needs to be, and direct law, I would actually throw direct law in there as well. And a few questions that you're going to want to ask them are, do you come with your own library? Do you train me on how to set up my own templates? Because if what they have in their library is not what you need, or you use your own work product, or maybe you have your own title closing statement or file cover sheet that you rely on, that you spent years and years refining, those are going to need to be automated for you. So a few questions that you should ask of providers, and we're going to jump into our demonstration of Smokeball now. I'm going to open up, this is my Smokeball home screen. And so this is a list of all of the matters that I have across my entire practice. Now, as a real estate attorney, if that is all that you specialize in, you would not see these additional practice areas. I teach quite a bit, so I get the great pleasure of jumping into multiple practice areas. We're going to focus on real estate today. And what's different with Smokeball that other providers you'll have to see and compare, but we have what's called a matter layout for every different type of real estate transaction, including zoning. So, and we build these specific to each area of law. So in different areas of law, you'll notice we'll compare this to family. So family has multiple types of cases, as does real estate, and you choose the one that best fits your client's situation. So if I wanted to look at all of my buy matters, I can do that here. I can filter them just in commercial buy matters. I can do residential sale, and then commercial sale, and then lastly, zoning. So we're going to go into a buy matter. And I'm going to open up the Swanson file. And if you take a look at the Swanson file on our home screen here, you'll notice a couple of other details. It is assigned to a particular person in my firm. And then these other orange bars on the far left are actually tags. So you can assign matters and have a unique tagging system specific to your firm and how you process cases, and then you can sort based on any of these headers at the top. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the Swanson buy. And now, inside of matter details, I have the matter number, I have the buyer, I have the type of case that this is, property details, closing statement, listing realtor, selling realtor, title company. I also have our home inspector, who our lender is, if there's a homeowners association. So we're collecting a tremendous amount of information. And what we call this is moving the work from the back of the case to the front of the case. So this now becomes essentially your intake process. And you and everyone else in your firm's goal would be to complete this information as best as you can. And so to give you an example of what contact details look like, we're not just looking for name, address, phone number. We're looking for everything. We're looking for birth details, death details, social security numbers, passport information, citizenship, and nationality, especially if these are investment properties. Keeping that information in one place, and then also safe and secure, also secured with bank-grade encryption, as should be any other provider that you work with. So we keep all of that information in one place. Now we can also make other accommodations, such as how I would like my letters addressed. And this is the difference between starting a letter from scratch and using document automation to fulfill those needs. You have the ability to set whether you would like to address your client as formal or informal, so Mr. Swanson or by his first name, Ron. Also male, female. And this is important because these small nuances dictate how that document is populated. So we accommodate for his, hers, these, theirs, we's, ours. All of those possessive and changes grammatically are accounted for as the document is populated. Yet another thing that you would have to go back and review in the event that you're reading that document from scratch. If we go into property details, we're able to see the address, the city, the state, county, if there's township, also the legal description that we're going to use to populate those legal documents, and the property type. Is it multi-tenancy? Is it single residence? Is it a townhouse, a vacant lot? Also, what is the tenancy? Tenants in common, joint tenants, tenants by the entirety, and then is the buyer moving in, or is this an investment property? And so we'll go ahead and close out our property details. We'll jump into closing details. And so this purchase price, as well as the percentage of purchase, we can say who it is going to be held by. So if it's going to be held by the buyer's attorney, we can select that option here, what the initial amount will be, and then the final amount and when it's due. So we're going to say OK, because I added a bit of information there. And now we'll go into closing statement. And closing statement is an incredibly powerful feature, because how many times have you had to manually do calculations or double, triple check calculations, or try and copy and paste from an Excel sheet into a Word document? And what this allows you to do is this allows you to create a closing statement that suits your client. We work with so many real estate attorneys. It is incredible to see the different variations of a closing statement, because some attorneys prefer to present their information to their clients in a different way. Maybe they do a lot of investment properties or investment work, so they prefer to have the closing details presented in a different way to an investor than they would a first-time home buyer in a residential purchase. And you can add fields at any time. You can also move things up and down. So if I'm in here, I can move these listing broker fees up, I can move them down, and you should be able to and have that flexibility to do this so that you can create a work product, a piece of an asset that speaks to your specific client. And so we'll go through, we have the listing realtor, selling realtor, and you'll notice on the right-hand side, as I change contacts, that contact card on the right-hand side, which is essentially a digital business card, changes. So I can quickly reference if I need to call someone. Their information is right here on the right-hand side. What this also does is it gives you a preview of what's going to be populated in the document so that you can catch any errors right away. And this is really what we come to know as our truth. This is what should be included in all of the documents, and as long as this information in the center section is correct, you can rest assured that the documents that you populate are going to be so as well. So we'll jump into forms and letters. So once I've populated all of that information, form and closing, or as much of it as I possibly can, now I can go into my form library. And SmokeBall does come with some general correspondence documents. However, for specific municipalities or jurisdictions, we work with our clients to determine what needs to be added to their form library, and then we help take care of that on our side. So we both train our clients on how to make their own documents and templates, but if it's a jurisdiction where we don't have forms available, then we will help and take that work on our side, and our team will convert those court forms or documents so that they have what they need in their library. And that's probably one of the biggest questions to ask your provider is, how much of my library are you going to help me set up, or what do you have available out of the box? Because it does vary across the providers. So we are going to start with our retention letter. And we're going to generate a retention letter in Microsoft Word on our letterhead. We're just going to give that a second to sync. And there it is. So this is now created that retention letter on our letterhead. And anywhere that you see in gray has been populated by SmokeBall. So accommodating for all of those we's and ours, us, and then signing it at the bottom for us. We've also included our RV line with the case information. So let's say that I have looked through this. And the nice thing is that inside of Microsoft Word, because this is not generated as a PDF, I can still come in and add an additional paragraph, special terms, or anything else that I might want to include that's specific to this client. So it gives me the flexibility of being able to automate a document in seconds, but the ease of use to still jump in and do what I need to as if it were a regular Microsoft Word document, because it is. So we will go ahead and send this to our client. And this is an extension feature that you may or may not need. So we are actually integrated with Microsoft Word and Outlook. And our Outlook integration brings an additional benefit, because what it allows us to do is it allows us to take these document templates, add the email address of our client, and these are all of the contacts that we have listed on that matter. And let's say that I want to go ahead and send this. So this is a retention letter. We want to get this out and get the client to retain us quickly. I'll select the client's name. I'll choose PDF at the bottom, and now I'm going to click OK. And what you'll notice in just a second is that there is the Microsoft Outlook email that was just created for me, populated with that case information with a copy of that PDF retention letter. And so now, a couple of other things that you'll notice. At the bottom of this email, we have the SmokeBall matter tag. And what this does is that once I send this email, it's going to save a copy back to that matter file. And when my client or other party responds, it's going to save their reply too. If there's an attachment, it's going to save that as well. So I'm going to send this, and I will save and close my retention letter. And now, if I go back into my matter, there is a retention letter that I just created, as well as the email with the attachment. So as I work through this particular case, I can see that library automatically building. And if I ever want to go back and see all of the emails sent and received to a particular client, they're all recorded for me right here. So I'll be able to share this information with everyone on my team. So in the event that maybe you don't make it back to the office in time for a client call, or a client calls in and the support staff need to help answer questions or refer to a piece of communication, how many times has an email been sent around and the one person that really needs that information or attachment wasn't included on the email? This solves that problem. So if we go back into the matter, we'll jump back into our form library, and we'll just execute a few other documents to give you examples of what document automation can do over the course of a closing. So we'll go ahead and we will prepare our file cover sheet. Now, and you'll notice that we have multiple versions of our file cover sheet. So this is our purchase. Maybe I want it in landscape, or maybe I want it in title form. So we're going to do our file cover sheet for a purchase in landscape format. And we're going to give that just a second to think. And now it's been populated with all of my clients' information, including all of our dates. So if your firm prints out that file cover sheet and staples it, or maybe you have the manila folders that have all the empty fields where you can write this information in, you can literally print this out, merge the information from your case management system, print this out, and staple it to the front of that file. And now you know that all of the information here is the same as what it is in your system, and we also don't have any errors when we're writing phone numbers or addresses quickly, and the pen ink bled together, or we did it with a pen that was dying, or marker, and now we have to go around and ask or refer to that Post-it note with that information. So just keep everything neat and tidy and continuity across the entire practice. So we'll go ahead and we'll save and close this as well. And let's do a couple more examples. So maybe let's say that you just need to do a notice of closing to buyer. And this doesn't necessarily need to be done as a letter. It could be sent as an email. So we're going to open this notice of closing. And so think about how many times you send the same email over and over and over again. Your closing is at X time. I need you to bring X, Y, and Z. So here is our notice of closing with that, with who their title company is, the date and time of their closing, and that's pulling directly from our real estate closing dates that was in our case information. And so instead of sending this as a letter, what I can do is I can say send to my client in the body of my email. And so I'll say okay. And now here is that Microsoft Outlook email populated with all of my clients' information. And how much easier would it be to auto-populate these in the email? You know that all of your dates are going to be accurate because they're pulling from that master digital file, and off they go. We'll send this to Ron. And now we'll go ahead and save and close. Back into the matter, there's that notice of closing to buyer as well as the email. And when Ron replies confirming his appointment, his reply will be filed automatically in Smokewell without having to do anything else. A couple of other efficiency tools that you'll notice is on the right-hand side, we have a real estate closing checklist. So this can be a default associated with every single new real estate closing that you open. So when it comes time to start a new matter or you have a new client join you, you don't need to worry about making sure that everybody follows the same process because it will be automatically added to every single new file that is opened. Another tool that you can use to manage workflow is our tagging system. So you can tag with the staff member who needs to be working on it. You can also add multiple staff members so that they know that this particular file is assigned to them. But then you can also use these statuses open, pending, closed, or canceled, as well as creating your own tagging system that is intake is done but not retained, and then this is a new client. So between the tools on the right, as well as the next step due, that is the next most important thing on this particular matter. And once you've created all this information, you really have the flexibility to do a variety of different things, from creating documents, sending emails, even generating. Let's just say that we need a blank letter. And who am I going to address this letter to? And I'll say create. And the advantage of generating blank letters is, one, you'll notice you're not doing any formatting here. So all of the formatting is done for you. You can write your letter. Okay. And then once you have created that letter, you can quickly send it as a PDF, save and close it, or print it to be used at a later date. And it'll ask me to name this letter. I'll say save. And now there's the letter to run again. Now, a couple of other features is the ability to record phone calls. So you can add a timestamp and just keep track of general information as it comes. And court form. So if we go and choose a form, all of the table formatting associated with court or municipality or special use forms is already done for you. So we have gone to the courthouse website, or we've gone to that local jurisdiction, and we've pulled down all of the forms. If our clients share publicly available forms with us and agree to have them put into our library, any new forms that we come across are automatically added to that master Smokeball library. And so we'll go ahead and close this. And no, we don't need to save it. And the last feature that I'm going to show you is inside of our reporting section. So inside of the reporting section, real estate specific reports can be really, really helpful. So everything from a realtor report, where I can see what realtors have sent me the most business or that I've worked with most often. Maybe you want to hold an open house and thank them, or do a dinner and can encourage them to continue to refer business to you. That can be done quickly just by pulling all of the realtors that you work with across your entire account. And here they are. And then from here, you can actually download this into Excel. So if you do want to do a holiday card mail merge, you can get that out and over to the person responsible for your holiday cards. You can also print this out as a PDF and just have a staff meeting. You can also do real estate critical dates. And this is probably one of my favorite reports, where it goes through all of your open matters and it pulls everything critical that you have coming up. So especially in a situation where maybe an associate had a family emergency or isn't going to be able to make something, you can pull a list of everything, and then on the right-hand side you can filter it by who's responsible, a particular tag, or a particular group. And that overall is the Smokeball demonstration of document assembly for real estate closing.